Thanks for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Pleasure.
All right. I think we're officially live. Let me just make sure that I did it right, because I don't always. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Oh, I can look.
Okay. Looks like we're good. We're launched.
Awesome.
Sanity has left me is we already have a comment. There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Nice to see you. Especially nice to see you, Pub.
Nice
It's been
to
a
see
while.
you too. I know.
Before we get started, can you tell everybody where you're at? Let me give just a brief introduction here. Pub is one of the first guy feminists that I had ever seen online. Absolutely blew my mind. I'm scrolling through TikTok one day, just doing my little ex-Mormon thing over there on TikTok, scrolling through TikTok. And of course, I followed so many like badass female feminists and ex-Mormons, deconstructionists, all that. But I hadn't really heard any men who were saying the stuff that I was thinking, right? A lot of red pill dudes over there, a lot of MAGA guys, especially, back like 3-4 years ago, I think when I first ran across you. And then one day, one of your videos pops up in my feed, and you're saying all of this stuff that I just have fantasized about hearing from men. And I seriously think that you're like one of the staunchest feminists I know. And I think that you even put some of like the women, on their toes, because you're so great at supporting women and supporting healthy community, supporting families in a really wholesome and amazing way. So hats off to you. Tell my audience just a little bit about you and where we can find you.
I am, I'll be honest with you. Like, identifying as a male feminist shouldn't be a big deal. It should be like, okay, right? Like, to identify as that. But like, I think that the way that the term is being co-opted and convoluted, it just has like a male feminist has negative connotations. I don't have any problem with feminism or, feminist, but considering myself a male feminist, I think I just kind of like shied away from it. And I don't think in all honesty, I don't think I should. I think I really probably should be like, no, I'm a
So
male
what do you
feminist.
consider yourself?
I don't, that's the problem, is like, I do consider myself to be a feminist when it comes to like the ideology of feminism, right? Without a doubt, obviously, but it's like calling myself one, I think it feels weird because of the way that, like, in my experiences, when I encounter men who self-identify as male feminists, they just come on, they be kind of like grifting and pandering, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't want to be put in that category. So I would rather call myself something else. But you're right. It's really nothing else I can call myself. That's the bad
So
part
are you a
about it.
feminist ally? Is that what you are?
Cool. I'll take that. I'll take an ally. Yeah. If that makes, I think that feels better to most people. But I want to be sensitive to the fact that, like, I always want to make sure that, like, I'm never excluded from the group of men. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a part of I'm a man at the end of the day. I'm still a part of manhood and masculinity and all that other crap. I'm a part of it by default. Whether I choose to be a part of it or not is irrelevant, but I'm in the group. I'm a part of the clan. You know what I'm saying? So I always want to make it very clear that, like, I understand that, and I'm not trying to like other myself from men in any way, shape, or form. I'm like, no, I'm a man. No, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean that I'm actively a terrible human being or anything, but I'm definitely a man, and I definitely like understand that completely. I know what that entails.
That makes so much sense. So I'm going to self-identify you still, or I'm going to identify you. You're not self-identifying
Yeah,
as a
a
male
male feminist. Yeah,
feminist.
that's fine if you
Because
do
I
it.
feel like that's what you are. I've been reading this book on women's rights way back in like the early colonial days. And it goes into a lot of how that abolitionists and feminists were very much in the same camp.
Yeah,
And interestingly, like when we look at the abolitionists, you didn't have to be a Black enslaved human to be an
no,
abolitionist. And some of the great civil rights allies were some of the people who pushed the most to desegregate, whether
mhm,
they were white or whatever. So I think that I love what you're saying. I love that you don't want to co-opt that and take that away from the women who are feminists and are out here
Yeah.
fighting the fight. But I still kind of feel like you fit the category. So I do think that your verbiage maybe should be just feminist ally, which certainly you are. You're out there cracking heads and dismantling and just shining a light on systems in ways that as a woman, it lands different when I do it
Yeah.
than when you do it. So I appreciate your feminist allyship a ton.
Thank you. I
Where
appreciate
do you
that.
want
Yeah.
people to find you the most? You're here on YouTube as the public offender.
Yeah. Public Offender 100 on YouTube, the Public Offender. I think it's YouTube, the Public Offender 100 on TikTok, something like that. So, but yeah, see, that's a
I'll
great
put the link
point.
in the description.
Yeah, that's the link. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. They get me. It's like saying that I'm a male. I don't know. It just sounds weird to me. I'm like, maybe not say the male. Maybe I should stop saying the male part and just be like I'm a feminist or whatever. But yeah, I'm definitely down because like I'm against, like, I'm anti-capitalist. I don't have any problem saying I'm a communist. I don't have any problem saying, I believe in socialist ideologies and and things of that nature. I have no problem saying that, but I do kind of cringe when I hear, like, when I say it. I think when other people say it, I don't have a problem, but I think when I say it, I'm like, I don't know. It just sounds weird. I don't want any, like, again, I think it's just the perception of it, but I'm just going
Can I just say that even this conversation just makes me respect and appreciate so much more everything that you're doing, because you're not trying to just steal that from women. You're not trying to take on that persona, calling yourself a feminist. You're so humble about having women have their space. And I think that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
I'm going to call you a feminist. You can just call
Yeah, I'll take it.
yourself pub. You can do
Yeah.
whatever. I do introduce Kevin as a feminist. Like, some of my
That's fine.
friends and stuff, like, it's like, yeah, he's my feminist honey. So I think we need those. Yeah. So somebody's saying that it makes you sound kind of pick me. I'm also a male
Yeah.
feminist. I agree. It kind of makes you, yeah, right. So do we need a new phrase, or can we just call y'all the feminist allies? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't care, whatever
What's
makes you
doing
feel
it?
There was
comfortable.
5
Yeah,
centuries
I
of
don't.
empire.
Whoop. I didn't mean to just play that right there. Sorry.
Fine.
Hit the
I
button.
know it
Go
happens when
ahead.
you upload the video automatically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hold on. I just messed everything up. Here's what I'm trying to do. Okay, we have this awesome video that we want to talk about tonight. That's going to be just loads of fun. Why am I not getting it the way that I want it to? Dun, dun, dun. Okay, we're going to do it like this.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Good enough. So on the topic of being a feminist ally, which Pub certainly is, you and I both have a lot of concern about the loss of women's rights, the loss of women's place in society. And to me, I know that this means, like, on a national level, on a global level, I'm concerned about the roles of women, but also on an individual level. I'm concerned about the lives of my neighbors who live around me, my sisters, my nieces, all of the women in my life. And especially since Trump was elected, we're kind of rolling into this era where the patriarchy is out in force, and women's roles, Roe v. Wade being reversed, things like that, are a little bit precarious right now. And we have these two camps where one side thinks, Project 2025, all those guys, right? They think that the solution to all of the problems in society are more capitalism, more patriarchy, more women going back home again and having the babies and that traditional family. And then on the other camp over here, us feminists and the feminist allies, we think that there's a better solution, but that solution isn't always clear. Don't you feel like a lot of people are like, well, then what do we do? If we don't go back to traditional roles, then what does the future look like? Because we haven't tried it yet. Don't you feel that? Like, it's this great unknown?
Well, I think the unknown part is because we forget that the patriarchy hasn't existed forever. Like, it's been around for 8 or 9 millennia, but there was a time before, right? And we
all
back.
just don't remember that. We
just don't
for
remember it, and we don't, and they don't teach about it like they teach about the patriarchy, right? We act like this. I mean, I think a huge reason why I understand, feminist, like the thought process behind feminism is because of my lens that I process it through, which is racism, right? Like, as a Black person in America, Black history starts in America with slavery. It doesn't start in Africa. It doesn't start, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't start with us in Europe. being there for 1,000 years and or I won't say us because I don't identify as a Moor, but it doesn't start with the Moors ruling Europe for 980 years. It doesn't start with that. It starts with Black people in America. We just were here and we were slaves, and that's where our history starts in America, right? And they do that on purpose to separate us so that we don't know that we can't, like, there was a time before when we had like power and so on and so forth, right? And we were in control of our own destiny.
The story didn't exist until you came into proximity with the white people.
Yeah, slavery, pretty much. Like they were like, your history is slavery, and then whatever up until now. That's what it is for the patriarchy too. It's the same. Races stole that play out of the patriarchal playbook of like cutting off the history. Now men say crazy stuff like men invented everything in the world. Men created and I'm sitting there like, are you sure about that? Because as a Black person, again, I know that we will never know all the things that Black people created. You will never know. You won't know about all the inventions that Black slaves made that were stolen. The ideas were stolen by their slavers, and you don't know about all the stuff that was taken from Africa. And then, you know what I'm saying? You won't know. You won't know about that. There's no way for you to know at this point that the history
is not written. Yeah.
It's not written. It's been stolen. It's been lost.
We can find the fossil records. We can hear the oral stories, but that it's gone. It's disappeared. Yeah. It's not uploaded to the cloud.
And that's why when you talk to Black people about power and about not being in this position, a lot of Black people, it's hard for us to see it because, again, our history for a lot of us starts in America. That's what it's like, I would imagine, for women. It's like, or just people who understand the matriarchy and how it existed prior to the patriarchy, and how human beings, the only reason why human beings are here right now is because of the matriarchy. The only reason why we're here is because women can, like, it was 7-1 women to men at one point in time on the planet. It was 7-1 women to men. Men didn't rule. It wasn't nobody. Women didn't rule either. It wasn't like that. It was just like we were communal. We shared all of our resources. We worked. We showed up. We did what we needed to do. And I believe that women created agriculture. I think that I don't know if you want to say created, discovered it, whatever. I think women created that. And then men said, oh, this is a good way to control everybody, or a group of men said that. And then now we have the patriarchy. I think that's when it started, was through agriculture. So now we're here, right? 7,000-8,000 years later. And now it's like, what would the world look like if men didn't rule the world? I'm like, it'll look pretty fucking good. Excuse me. But like, because it didn't always, you know what I mean? Like, men didn't always rule the world. So take all of our technology now, take all of our, you know what I'm saying, all of our progress that we've made now, and then couple that with the idea that everybody on the planet has a right to be here, and we're going to show up for them. We're going to treat everybody on the planet like they're a human being. Imagine that's what the world would look like. It would look like everybody's needs being met, because there's more than enough food. There's more than enough resources for everybody to eat and live and thrive. Education would be in abundance. You know what I mean? Like access to health. All these things can and should happen, but they will never happen under the patriarchy.
No, because the patriarchy is always grappling for control of the possessions. And I think that I wish that I could be a fly on the wall, like you're talking about the earliest forms of agriculture cultivation, which is just very simply somebody decided, I think that water buffaloes are some of the oldest historic animals that began to be locked up in little cages. We built fences. We invented fences. We decided, we can seed these plants, and so we can start to grow rather than just harvesting in the wild. And that's the very beginning of agriculture. And when you go back to that time, what we see in the human fossil record is almost no human on human homicide.
Yes.
None. And there's this myth that's told, and it's especially perpetuated in some of the religious philosophies, that humans are these wild, horrible people. If we don't have God, if we don't have church, if we don't have Jesus or whoever God it is, that we are just these wild, woolly people. And I think that there's the assumption for a lot of us today, even well-educated people who haven't studied ancient history and what the fossil records and genetics tell us, there is the assumption that human beings were just running around as these horrible, vapid creatures killing each other all the time. If that had happened, our species would have extincted long ago. What we find in the fossil record is that there's almost no indication of human on human homicide, like I say, until there's this pivotal moment. And that moment is when we begin to grow things. So the advent of agriculture, the advent of fencing, as our
Domesticated animals.
societies, yep, as our societies grew from 3 to 500 in a tribe up to like 1,500, and so now you have resources that you are capable of exploiting, and you also have to have that leadership to keep cohesion within the social structure. When we get to that point, all of a sudden we have people killing each other. Because they're not fighting with each other. It's not like the human creature naturally. We are nice, happy, communal, connective people. That's who we are. That's in our DNA. But if I have a fence and I've put that water buffalo in it, and now I've invented marriage, so I have a contract, I own this woman, I own anything that comes out of her womb, I own that rice that I'm growing out there in the field. Once I start to own stuff, all of a sudden we start to have weapons, and we see, people that are sacrificed to the gods because they're trying to ensure that they continue their prosperity. We see just brutal murder, and it's really not human on human. It's over possessions. It's people competing for possessions against one another.
100%. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And women didn't, I would say that it would be, when I think about this, it's like, when I think about the things that women create, even now, it's usually for the betterment of society. You know what I'm saying? It's usually to push society. That's like the craziest thing about history is you can see even today how women, like even in capitalism, even when, like there's a woman that came up with she invented the like little nanobots that kill cancerous cells inside of human beings, right? That doesn't align with capitalism. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's
right. We're going to cure cancer, and then all of the pharmaceutical companies are going to, close their doors because nobody needs cancer treatment anymore.
Nobody needs cancer treatment. You go get that done, and then it's one and done. It's cut out, and you could do. I'm assuming you could probably do it every single time it comes back, right?
Of course, I want to say for my male viewers, for my male audience, not all men. There are certainly kind, communal, connective men who do things to benefit other people, but we can make some, very large statements about society in general right now, and what men do versus what women do. There's ample research, all kinds of different studies. It was interesting. Mother Teresa talked about this all the time, that she'd take, rice into the home of people living on the streets of Calcutta, and the woman would cut the little portion of rice in half, wrap it up in a basket, and take it out the door. And she'd come back, and Mother Teresa would say, well, what did where'd the rice go? Why did you take half the rice? She'd say, well, my neighbor next door is hungrier than me. And that didn't necessarily happen amongst the men. I used to donate, I don't know, maybe about 15 years ago, to an organization that provided microloans. So microloans were a brand new product, like back in the early 2000s, where businesses, these financial companies would go into places like India, places like, parts of Africa, parts of Asia. And rather than you having to go to a bank where people who are in poverty don't have credit, they don't have, stable income, things like that, they would do these little teeny micro loans for just like $50 with very low interest to help people, build little businesses and things like that. So you might just open like a stand where you're selling mangoes or something like that. And at first, one of the major banks, I don't remember what it was, that we were donating to, as they sent us all of the newsletters, they said that at first they went in and they were, giving these little microloans, $10, $15, $50, whatever it was, to men, because the men in most of the cultures that they were going into were the head of the family. They were the patriarch. They were the ones who were supposed to be the breadwinners. And the men would build businesses, take advantage of one another, sometimes default on the loans, never even pay the loans back. And it was just a complete disaster. So they almost shut this company down. But then somebody had the idea, well, why don't we start giving these microloans to the women? And the women in the data that we received in some of these newsletters, some of these reports through this charity that we were contributing to for several years was just mind boggling. Like the women, you make a little bit of money on your mango stand and then they would help their neighbor buy a mango stand, or
Yeah.
they would decide, I'm going to donate half of my mangoes to all of the kids in the village. The women always paid back their loans. They were conscientious business owners and they contributed to the community and lifted one another up in ways that the men didn't. So
Yeah.
are all men like that? No, absolutely not. There are incredible men out there doing amazing things, including yourself. But we are,
Are
we see
most
some of
men
the
like
things that
that? Yes. Unfortunately, are most men like that? The overwhelming majority of men are like that. That's the problem. It's not a few men. It's not some men. It's not it's not a minor. It is the overwhelming majority of men are either just like that or apathetic, where they won't say anything. They'll just allow the other men who are really like that to just do, to run ramshot over everybody. And you're just as bad at that point. That's the problem with the patriarchy is I don't ever say it's not all men. Like that is
you don't.
No, I never say that, because why do if you need to hear that, then you're not going to listen to me anyway. If you're the type of man that needs to hear it's not all men, then you're not going to be able to grasp the level of the conversation that we're having right now, right? The brevity of the conversation cannot be understood by a person that is taking these things personally. If you are taking any of this stuff personally, then how are you going to hear anything that Jennie is saying? How are you going to hear anything that anybody is saying if every single time you hear something, you internalize it? And you go, well, not me, not my dad, not my circle. And you start doing all of that defensive stuff. The conversation is DOA at this point. So I never say it. I don't need to say it. If you're in the comments,
I have to say it because I was trained by the patriarchy to be a nice girl. So I have a hard time saying things that I think might offend men.
Yeah, no,
It's my programming.
That's why my name is a public offender. Men need to be offended. They need to be offended. Our sensibilities need to be slapped in the face. We need to be confronted. Trying to be nice to men, trying to be gentle to men, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Men, because of the patriarchy, we are very submissive to other men.
Mm-hmm.
We are very submissive to a hierarchy.
You have this like barometer out there for the hierarchy, for like those social nuances. You always have that barometer going for men, for other men.
Absolutely. And I'm looking at men going, that's why I don't change how I talk. Like I talk how I talk. Like I'll never let a man be like, if you just said it this way or that. No. Brother, trust me. I'm a high-ranking official in the patriarchy. I'm a high, you know what I'm saying? Like I've been in that thing in every single whatever little microcosm of the patriarchy I've ever existed in. I've been at the top. Like, and I don't even want it. That's not even something I just am, right? I've always risen to the top of it. I played sports. I did whatever I did. I was up there. So I know what it is. Men don't care how you talk to them. Men aren't sensitive about, that's not it. That's not it. That is always a manipulation tactic. Always. Like I've never heard a man actually need to hear a person be like, be gentler and I'll hear you out. No, you won't. Women, you know that in a relationship, you know that you could bring, I'm not talking about your husband or your man or whoever, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, when you talk to men as a woman, right? Have you ever brought something to a man and you were the kindest, gentlest, sweetest you ever could be, right? And you were very concise and did he receive it? Was he like, you know what, Jennie? I hear exactly what you're saying and I'm going to change. Too sweet. Like, no, they would even, oh, well, you do it too. And what about it? Like, that's how, so I know that about men. I'm not about to be, no. You're about to get confronted without a doubt.
Oh, that's hilarious. It always impresses me when I'm in your live stream so often. I love watching you. I love your videos. And I do feel like you're just so bold. You're so bold in the way you say things. I'm playing mind games with myself. Like, I don't want to hurt the feelings of some of the grandpas that watched me from England. And, like I always have those emotional barometers out there because that's how I was raised, right? I was a trad wife. I was supposed to always be thinking how the men are feeling. On the topic of like men do egregious things and the patriarchy is terrible. Sometimes I think that it's just a matter of a simple reframe. And I think that the whole conversation around not all men prevents us from having the necessary conversations about the nature of human beings.
Yes.
What if instead of like, oh, this is horrible that men are, always wanting to get into our britches, and it's horrible that they're sexualizing everybody. All of these things are terrible. It's terrible that they're so aggressive. What if instead of that, what if we just look at the nature of men and say that whether it's, the patriarchy has wired them like this, or this is just,
Whatever.
genetically they have a
Biology.
different series of
Mhm.
chemicals going on in their brains than women do, because I do believe that men and women have some inherent biological differences. That's not just what I believe. That's what a lot of research shows, that we do have some
Yeah.
differences. What if we look at those differences and just say, well, then this means that we need to do X, Y, Z a little bit different. So what if we look at, yeah, men tend to have higher libidos and they tend to want to sleep with anybody around them more than women do. They tend to have higher sex interest. And that's a good thing, because that keeps the human species going. Men don't sign up for having babies necessarily, but you have the hot girlfriend and boom, there you go 9 months later. So what if we actually embrace those characteristics of men rather than labeling them as negative? Men tend to be more high conflict in a leadership position. Men tend to let power go to their heads and become more self-centered than they are benevolent towards others when they rise to those higher points of power. But that's good, because that means that they're protective. They have these protective instincts. But then what if we look at, what does this information tell us that makes us realize we need to change some things in society? And that's what we're going to talk about with this video that we're going to play. I think that there's a pretty solid case for, if we get real about the characteristics of men in general, biologically, um, the patriarchy is the answer, or the matriarchy is the answer. A patriarchy is the problem. It's
Yeah.
only within the patriarchy that these characteristics of men that are in some ways different than your average woman become problematic.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think that I don't know if men, like, just for an example, I don't know if men are naturally protective. I think maybe humans are naturally protective of others. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I could see that. I don't think that women or anything like that. I think it's just humans are protective in general. But I think that trying to reframe it, and again, I just don't think that, to put it in layman's terms, I don't think being nice to men gets us anywhere. Just in general. That's just my experience. Like, as a man, I just don't think being nice to men
All
gets
right,
us
I'm
anywhere.
done. We're not doing it anymore. So I
Yeah, I
love
think
you
you
men
just
out
gotta be
there.
mean. You
You're on
just
the right
gotta
side of
be
history
mean to
now,
men,
but the rest of
man.
y'all, okay. We're just
I'm
busting
sorry.
skulls. Okay.
I wish it would. I promise you. I promise you. I wish that we could appeal to men's better nature, and I really do. Like, just by being. If you give a man an inch, this is the average man.
Yeah.
Of course, there are men, that they don't react positively to negative, to like a negative approach, right? Of course, I'm not saying that. But men in general, the way that we are socially conditioned, if she gives us an inch, we take a country mile. If you tell us that, well, yeah, you guys are aggressive, but that's because you're natural protect. We're gonna, you see, just that we're protectors. Like, that's like, so no, I don't know. You're aggressive
Okay.
because society conditions you to be aggressive and tells you that violence is the answer when you run out of answers, to go to violence or whatever. Like, that's how I want people to know. And I don't ever let men out of the headlock. Like, you're perpetually in the headlock. When I talk, if you're a man, you're always in it. I'm never like, no, well, no, that's fair. No, no. Men are terrible in general. Like,
I
and
will
you
say that I've had some really horrible experiences with men lately, and I think it is because I give them an inch. Like, I
don't give them
was
an inch.
sexually harassed by a major podcaster here recently, and it was absolutely mind-boggling. And it's like, oh, but I gave him an inch. I had this trust. He had my personal cell phone number. Like, every single time I give somebody an inch, it's just, yeah, but I keep
Don't give
doing
them an
it.
inch. Don't give them. That's in general. Of course, there's men that you could whatever. That's fine. But
Yeah.
I don't. Again, I'm telling. This is me. I'm telling you, as a man, when I deal with men, I don't give a man an inch. In my personal life, online, like, I just don't give. I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't trust. Like, I just don't. I know too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe one day it could change if men start to change, but as of now, I can't do it. So I'm not. I'm not the nice guy. Like, if people want me to be like nicer or sweeter to me. Like I won't. If you listen to how I talk about men and talk to men versus how I talk about women and talk to them, even when I may be like admonishing a woman or I disagree with a woman or whatever, it's completely different. And there's a reason why. It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like it's literally a reason why. It's because men are, like I said, men are like, you have to think about every man as if we're all in a big military. We're all in the army.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
when you talk to soldiers, get up, soldier, give me like that's how men are used to. That's okay. We're always like, so that's how I talk to men. I scream at him like a drill sergeant. I'm like, yeah, no, you going, yes, this is how you're gonna do it. And then if you don't like it, yes, I get it. You're gonna run away. But I've seen anybody in here, if you know anybody that's being kind and gentle to men and really, being patient or whatever with men, show me their following. If their following is 50% men and 50% women, I'll listen to them. If their following is 60% men and I'll listen to them. I guarantee you, whether they're nice, whether they're mean, their following, if they're talking about men and they're challenging men to be better, even in the kind way, their following is going to be 80% women, bare minimum. Men don't want to listen to it. That's the point. It doesn't matter how you present it. We're just not set up. We are conditioned to block it out almost every time. So I don't even waste my energy. I'm going to talk to him how I want to talk to him.
I think that I should have entitled this, Jennie Gets Deprogrammed by the Public Defender from
You know, Jennie, I'll be telling you all the time, stop me. I'll be like, I'm not trying to make you not be nice. You're a nice person. I hear all that. Just don't be nice to men. You could be nice to women all day long. You could trust your sisters and all. Just don't do it. I do not play with men. I don't trust them.
Even when I'm writing a script, I'm hoping that I'm not offending the feelings of the very sweet feminist men that watch my channel. Like I'm always, yeah. So thank you. Okay. I want to dive into this video here because we both saw this and I loved your take on this video. Again, I think that part of the problem with why the patriarchy maintains itself, and I hear people all the time in my comment section saying, we don't have a patriarchy. That's just a made up word and that doesn't exist. That's, just YouTubers and TikTokers talk about the patriarchy. Oh my holy God. Like every person in government, I was going through percentages today of women in government, and it's like up to like 10% now in Congress, and that's a big deal, right? The year that I was born, women were allowed to get their own bank accounts and credit cards. We are a patriarchal system. We are 100% a patriarchy. A patriarchy is the men in charge, the men making all the decisions, the men having all power, the men having, land ownership, financial power. Do you want to give us a definition of the patriarchy before we segue into this?
Aside from, on top of all of that, I would say, to me, the patriarchy is when everything in society is built to benefit men. To me, is way deeper than men having all the power, because most men don't have the power, right? I don't have any power myself. Collectively, yes, we have the power, right? But I don't have any power myself. But what I do have is an advantage over you. I do have an advantage over you. And I talk about it. I give the same examples because these examples are crazy when you think about them, because this is how deep the patriarchy is and how much it benefits men. When you take an aspirin, it is more likely to harm you. We all have taken aspirin, I guarantee, right? We've all taken ibuprofen. Ibuprofen has only been tested on men, right? Like this whole time when we were taking ibuprofen, it was only tested on men. When you get behind the wheel of a car and you drive, that car is only tested on men. It's not tested on you. It's not tested for you having breasts. It's not tested for your hips being wider. It's not tested for the average height of a woman. It's not.
So I can't reach the clutch and the Jeep, and I can't. Yeah.
It's not tested for any of that, right? And we all drive and we all ride in cars. So I have an advantage over you. My safety is a huge advantage. Like the likelihood that I'm going to be harmed or hurt by something versus a woman gives me a huge advantage in life. I can take more risk because it's not as risky, right? That plow that was created for the physiological makeup of a man, not a woman. That hammer you swing was created for the physiological makeup of a man, not a woman. Like, so that saw you use, all of it was created for the physiological makeup of a man.
I've never thought
That
about that,
isn't.
but I buy things from a lot of women companies now, right?
Mhm.
Like made by women for women. And whether it's clothing or jewelry or toys, whatever the thing is, those things that are made by women, like underwear, for example, I buy from this organic company. It's called Packed Organics. I'm not sponsored by them. I just love their stuff. And it's made almost exclusively by women. Most of the owners are women. It's designed
Mhm.
mostly by women. There are some men that are part of the ownership, but it's just so different. It's organic, it's soft, it's beautiful compared to Victoria's Secret, which is made by, creeps and predators and rides up your butt. Is it sexy? Yeah. Do I feel hot when I wear it? Yeah. Does it feel good on me? No, not really, but I don't know. Such a difference. Yeah, there's such a difference in those female-owned products that I consume versus some of the male-owned things. I mean, yeah, there's great stuff out there, but I've never thought about that before.
Yep.
Hmm. Did he vote MAGA? No. Here, I feel like this guy's just kind of being grumpy.
Who is MAGA? I mean, who voted MAGA? Who were they asking about? Me? Did I vote MAGA? No. That's crazy. Oh, they're asking about somebody's dad in the chat, Jenny, I think. Not us. Yeah, wages are still unequal. Women only earn 85% of what men do. Yeah, and the sickest part about that is that divide typically happens when a woman has a child. When men have children and women have children, it disproportionately negatively impacts women, and it disproportionately positively impacts men. Men see a boost in their earnings when they have children, and women see a decline in their earnings when they have children. But then we push women to have children, right? That's the sickest part.
I don't know what
I
happened.
think Jenny had some technical difficulties. There she goes.
Technical difficulties. Thank you for
Yeah,
continuing on without
no,
me.
you're good. But yeah, I was just answering some questions in the chat. We're good now. We can roll the video whenever you get ready. Oh, not again. You guys hear some whimpering? That's my dog Teddy. He's out. He's out there with my sons. But yeah, um, the wage gap is crazy. The wage gap is crazy, man. And again, it's like when you think about the wage gap, you think about it like I had an understanding of the wage gap like, oh, men just make more than women because they're men, right? Obviously, like they're going to promote men more. They're going to then I started reading the studies on it. It was like, no, when they control for all of that stuff, men make more, blah 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 blah. Like even like a female CEO compared to a male CEO, the male CEO is going to make more money oftentimes. A female, air traffic controller, whatever, right? But again, when you look at women and men when they don't have kids, they make around the same amount of money. And I want for people to really understand what that means. For women to make around the same amount of money as men in a patriarchy, that doesn't show that the patriarchy doesn't benefit women when they don't have kids. What it shows is that women are the work that women had to put in, the energy, the effort, the work, the labor that a woman had to put in to making the same amount of money or around the same amount of money as a man is the thing that never gets talked about. Because just because a woman makes the same amount of money doesn't mean that it was just as easy for her to get there. You see what I'm saying? Men still have an advantage, but it just goes to show you how resourceful and how productive women are, because no matter what, they're still they're gonna do what they need to do to compete in the workforce.
I don't know why I just glitched out. I'm so sorry.
It's all good. Dang, they got her again. The Wi-Fi. I thought we made it past that. I wonder, can I do it too? Oh, yeah, I could do it too. You're not cursed. You guys are good. There's some Wi-Fi issues probably, or some, system issues. But if she can't get it together, we'll definitely run the live back one day. Teddy's good. He's out right there. My sons are outside right here on their. My son is outside on his scooter with his friends in front. So Teddy, he just be wanting to be a part of the what the fun. You know how dogs are. They think they're they're like, hey, I'm a part of the family. Oh, okay. I don't know where that is. I mean, I know where Idaho is. Jennie saw me on a live, and then, I can't. I don't remember. Like, I think she came up on a panel or something, and we started talking, and I was like, "Damn, her story is interesting." And then I think I invited her to come on a live. She told me her story like offline, and then I was like, "This was crazy." It was like Risa Tisa. We need to hear this. Her story is like Risa Tisa times 10. like Risa Tisa was terrible, right? Like, that was wild. What happened to her? What happened to Jennie was 10 times worse. It was 10 times worse. She had kids and everything. So that was crazy.
I don't know what's happening.
Wi-Fi.
Every time I try to bring that video in, because I had it up here and then it dropped me. So I'm on my hotspot now. Let me just double check a couple things. I have never dropped a live stream.
I have that video. So if you need me to, maybe, I could try to bring it up and see if it.
Okay. Well,
was 5 centuries
here we
of
go.
empire.
There it goes.
Oop.
War.
Okay.
Now we're good.
Yeah, I switched over to my hotspot, so I think we're good. You guys, I'm so sorry. Sorry, Pub.
We're good.
Isn't tech stuff so fun? Yeah, Rick's is now known as BYU Idaho. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being patient. You can do everything without me anyway. Okay, we're gonna dive into this. Before the internet decided to drop me, I was just saying, Pub, that I think a lot of us who think that the patriarchy is the only way to go, it's because we don't actually understand history. This is the way that our parents did it and our grandparents. And it seems like, America had the founding fathers, not the founding mothers. And we had mostly kings over in Europe under our monarchy for, a lot of us white people who ended up here in America. So a lot of us have this false idea that the patriarchy has always been the most stable way to run a society. It's how it's always been. And actually, historically, there are thriving matriarchies globally. And by many accounts, they do better than the patriarchies. The Navajo Nation here in my home state of Arizona is a great example of that. Their matriarchal structure has created socioeconomic and spiritual resiliency for generation after generation. And some of my friends who are Navajo, it's so beautiful to see that even like in their personal lives, how the women are so empowered. They are looked up to for their wisdom, for their leadership. They're looked up to as the mothers and in many ways tribal rulers, leaders, rulers, I don't know. They're in charge of things. So we have so many examples of matriarchies, and we both saw this video over on TikTok. Absolutely love this guy. Then I went on a deep dive on this. So I want to hear what you have to say about this video.
Rome gave us 5 centuries of empire and endless war. Greece gave us philosophy and constant bloodshed. Every civilization built on patriarchal power has the same story: conquer, expand, collapse. Sound familiar, America? But in 2025, scientists tested the DNA of a 9,000-year-old society that lasted for over 1,000 years. No warfare, no kings, no conquest. And when they looked at how it was organized, it was built by who? Around the mothers. This isn't a theory. This isn't spirituality. This is a peer-reviewed genetic study published in the Journal of Science, one of the most respected scientific journals on the planet. An international team of researchers analyzed the DNA of 131 people buried at a place called Katahoyuk in modern-day Turkey. And yes, I probably brutalized that name. One of the oldest settlements ever found. What they discovered, the people buried in each house were related through the mother's line. Women stayed in their homes, men moved with the women's families.
Okay, do you have anything to say up to this point? Because I already have some thoughts.
No, go ahead.
As a woman, just listening to this little bit, and I know that this is how some of my Navajo friends are too. The woman has, the rights over the children. The women stay in their homes. They have it's so different than us in America, right? Um, as a woman, I knew that someday I was going to grow up and get married and become part of my husband's family. I was taught to actually leave and cleave my family, like leave them, cleave unto my husband. I took his name. I was very much absorbed into his life, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have any way of making money on my own. So, very much, I was living in his home. My toothbrush was paid for by him. The children had his name. They were his kids. Everything was his. And we just accept that that's the way it is. Yeah, women we're more transient. Just hearing this little bit about the genetic evidence that the women stayed in their homes and it was the men who, you get married and what do they have their little hope chest that they take with them as they are absorbed into the wife's home. It just flips my life experience completely on its head.
I think that the thing that I hear from what he's saying, like what I'm getting from it, also is it just makes more sense
Hmm.
when you think about it, right? Because where I come from, we say mama's baby's papa's maybe, right? So the women know we know that child is your child. You know what I mean? I was in the delivery room when my first son was born. I was there when we had the home birth and my second baby came out. I was there.
Mhm.
I saw both of the babies come out. I saw my wife holding them, all the things, right? I know at the very least, which I know they're my kids, but I'm saying like whatever people like to play the whole like paternity game. I know at the very least that those children are my wife's
Mm.
sons, right? So from that alone, it makes sense to trace the lineage through the mothers. It just makes more sense, right? We would have more information if we trace the lineage through the mothers than the fathers, I believe. It's
So
hard,
true.
you know what I'm saying? Because the men are bouncing around, and you got the what's his name, the Attila the Huns of the world, and but if you trace it through the women,
Yeah, what percentage of Chinese have Attila the Hun's ancestry, right? Like, it's
some
huge.
crazy percentage. They said he birthed more, like he had more lineage than anybody in history.
So
But yeah,
wild.
so that's what from that type of stuff, like the matriarchy to me just makes more sense. It
Hmm.
works from a place of, okay, what makes the most sense? Okay, let's do that. Let's go with that. When the patriarchy is like, no. What allows us to hoard power? Let's do that. Let's not do what's best for everybody. What hoards the most power? Cool. That's the one we're going with.
And then the problem is that hoarding of the power then leaves the already vulnerable population, children and women. And also, I think that often, like the handicapped, any differently abled people, anybody that's just kind of not at the top of the hierarchy, it leaves them so vulnerable. Where within matriarchal structures, we see those most vulnerable in the population supported. Women tend not to walk out on their children. Do they ever? Sometimes.
Yeah.
But some interesting stats, less than 40% of child support in the United States is ever paid. That's men who are
Mhm.
completely fine with their kids being on food stamps, with their kids going without, with their kids constantly dealing with, poverty. Less than 40%. So that's more than 60% of men who are completely fine, not given one rat's ass about supporting their children. Women tend not to do that, according to data.
Mhm. I agree.
Oh, I really like this comment. Patriarchy is a triangle with the most dominant men at the top. Yep, absolutely. It's
Mhm.
like the ultimate MLM, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Pyramid
actually
scheme.
read a book about ancient Egypt here last year where the men moved into women's homes in ancient Egypt,
Mhm.
and the children had the women's family's name. And it's so interesting, like, the man, if he wanted to marry the woman, he would send his stuff. He would send his courier with his little parcels, little backpack of his possessions to her door. The courier would knock on the door, and the woman could decide if she wanted to accept him in or not. And there
Mhm.
was no divorce. If she decided the marriage was over, she simply packed his stuff back up in his little parcel and she'd put it out on the porch and marriage over, done.
Damn.
figure it out from there. So go Egypt. All right.
And female children were buried with 5 times more grave goods than male children. 5 times. The excavator, Ian Hodder from Stanford University, spent 25 years digging this site. His conclusion? They lived without any war or conflict. He called it, and this is a direct quote, a superb example of a way of life free from fighting. 1,000 years, built around the feminine. No war.
I always heard as a kid growing up, whenever we talked about why we had men presidents, right? Because that would come up. You're 6th grade, you're learning about all of the past presidents, and it's like, well, can women be presidents? Why do we always have man presidents? And you would always hear people say, do you want a woman with PMS with her finger on the nuclear trigger, right?
Yeah.
That was always the thing. And there is this perception, we have these terms like Karen, which I think is so absolutely despicable. Bitch, totally despicable. We have these words around women that you would think that, women are so emotional, we're just out of control, we can't rule a country. Here's a matriarchy that went 1,000 years without any signs of war, without any signs of conflict, just peace.
Yep. It makes sense. I'm not gonna lie, as a black man, I think Karen is not, I don't know, it probably has some misogynistic connotations to it, but Karens are really about racism mostly. You know what I'm saying? It just that's what I got from it. It was like it was rooted in racism, but again, of course, misogyny plays a role in almost everything. I could see that, but yeah, because the original Karen was a racist white woman calling the police on some black people for minding their business. A black man that's where it came from. So I don't know if Karen is misogynistic, but I could see that because again, anything could be tied.
It's received as misogynistic. So I have people in my comment section call me a Karen often if I'm just doing a video where I'm speaking up about something. I state my opinion about anything and it's like, oh, Jennie's a Karen. So
yeah, they trust me, that people now we just apply it to every, you know what I mean? They weaponize it in a way. So I agree with that part of it. They're weaponizing it in a way to make a woman like you feel like, wait a minute, like, what am I doing wrong? Obviously, but where it came from wasn't that. And that's what happens with a lot, like woke has been co-opted, right? What is the DEI, the concept of it, co-opted. They don't even know what it means, right? When you ask the people who are against it, what is DEI? Well, we should live in a meritocracy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't even know what DEI is. Like, why are you so mad about it?
Our stuff changes so much. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of evolved into being any lady complaining. So that's how my friends use it.
Yes.
People just talking about, oh, she was such a Karen. Like she didn't like her food, so she called the manager. So she's such a Karen. But yeah, I get that in my comments all the time.
Yeah, that's how
I love it.
They're weaponizing it now to just apply to any woman. You're right. I think now that's what most people are doing. It's just like, if you say something I don't like, you're a Karen to like shut you down. That's 100%.
In general, there's a lot of folklore around women, and there's a lot of folklore about why women can't be in leadership positions and why we don't have a matriarchy. A lot of that folklore comes from the Bible, because even if you're not Christian in America, Christianity very much influenced all of the foundations of our nation, and we're still MAGA adjacent, we're Christian nationalist adjacent, we are church adjacent, whether you're a churchgoer or not. So, God created Adam and Eve. Eve was the helpmate, and she wasn't the prophet. She wasn't the God. She was just a woman. So there's just so many narratives around women that says that they can't lead, that we would be ineffective, that we're emotional basket cases. And historically, there are so many examples, including this one of the most ancient civilizations ever discovered here in Turkey that this man is referencing, that I've done this deep dive into this week. It's been fascinating to read about some of this, that are great examples of matriarchies being a superior structure to patriarchies. So found that interesting, the 1,000 years of peace there. Okay.
Think about what this actually means. No military, no ruling class, no hierarchy. Men and women ate the same food, did the same work, had the same social standing, an egalitarian community for a millennium. And we do a lot of talk on the divine feminine on this channel and how that's the missing piece. One of the researchers said something that absolutely stopped me cold. She said, perhaps Having more feminine-centered practices helped maintain more egalitarian relationships. 1,000 years of peace. And a scientist is telling you maybe it was because it was built around the feminine, not in spite of it, because of it. Archaeology magazine named this a top 10 discovery of 2025. You know what they titled the article? A Feminine Touch. And that's not the only thing the Earth gave back in 2025. In Pompeii, the city frozen in time by a volcano 2,000 years ago, archaeologists pulled up 2 life-size statues out of a tomb wall. A man and a woman. But the woman is taller than the man. She's wearing a crescent moon pendant, the symbol of the goddess Ceres, fertility, agriculture, motherhood. She's holding laurel leaves used in sacred purification rituals. She wasn't a wife, she was a priestess. It's called being a woman in ancient Pompeii. She was buried for 2,000 years, and in 2025, they pulled her out of that wall. So here's what happened. For thousands of years, societies were organized around the mother, the feminine, and they were peaceful. Then somewhere along the way, we switched. We erased her. We dragged Ashur out of Solomon's temple. We turned Magdalene into a prostitute. We buried Sophia in the desert with the Gnostic texts. We wrote her out of every scripture, every temple, every seat of power. And what do we get? 5,000 years of warfare. Empire after empire. Rising and falling and rising and falling. Conquest, domination. That's what happens when the masculine operates without the feminine. When the power operates without love. When the heroes has no gamos. The goddess figurines they found at Karahoyak 60 years ago, scholars dismissed them as decorative. Turns out the society that made them was actually organized around the feminine the entire time. The figurines were telling the truth. We just weren't listening.
Thoughts on this little portion here? Wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, men, the way that the matriarchy is set up is clear that women do not want to do things that will harm the collective, right? Men, or the patriarchy. I don't want to say men because I know that men, if we're socialized correctly, we can be agreeable and be functioning human beings, right? Like I believe that. I don't think that this is biological. I don't think that men are naturally violent. I don't think that men naturally don't care about their kids. I don't think, you know what I mean? Like I don't believe any of that stuff.
I think that's a really good point
but I
because
do-
we're looking at humans in captivity. It's like looking at elephants at the zoo and saying this is the way that elephants are. No, that's how elephants in the zoo are.
Yes.
We have no idea what men are like in the wild because every single man on the face of the planet has been conditioned by the patriarchy. We are all living in captivity. So we're just making guesses and speculations about what everybody's like outside of this. So yeah, I don't think that men who haven't been conditioned by the patriarchy are naturally aggressive monsters.
No, I don't. Not at all. We like you to your point. We like our society. We've been like it's like homogenous. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody is kind of like getting fed the same crap, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think that ultimately though, to go back to something that you said earlier, I do think that there is a physiological difference in men and women. Males and females, whatever you want to say, that makes women, I think, naturally better at leading. It doesn't make every woman a leader, and it doesn't make every man a follower. But
Great point.
collectively, I do think that nature did set up women to be leaders, and whether that was the intention of nature is, that could be argued, but I don't think we can argue with the fact that women can handle stress better than men, women being able to multitask better than men. You brought up PMS or whatever. Women deal with PMS every month, right? And men have a cycle too. Ours is 24 hours, women's is whatever, 28 days or whatever it is, right? But women know how to, like, you wouldn't know if a woman was PMSing. You wouldn't know. Like you could work with a woman, she could be on her period. You would have any idea that she was on her period. You have no idea. Women know how to manage their emotions and the physical changes that happen due to that. I'm not worried about a woman leader, being empowered because of her hormones, like nothing like that, right? Women know how to handle it. So that's not even a thing. That's not even a concern, and it shouldn't be for anybody. But because of that, I do think that women, again, are better suited to be leaders because they actually they have to manage their their, hormones differently. And society doesn't allow for women to express themselves in any way that they feel like it. So women also have to be reserved, and they have to have more control and all of that stuff, all those things. It just seems like on paper, we need to be following women's lead, at least for now. My solution to the problem is, let's instill the matriarchy. And we know the matriarchy doesn't look anywhere near the same as the patriarchy, right? But let's implement the matriarchy, get rid of put women in leadership for the most part. Some men can say in leadership, put women in leadership for the most part, and let women like lead us out of the mire. And then we could go back, reassess it. And after we get rid of this generation or two of men that have been totally corrupted by the patriarchy, and we're raising up our boys in the matriarchy, then we can look to them for more leadership roles, and we can kind of reset on society. But I don't think
we have to reset first. That's the thing. I know that people think that I'm really aggressive on my channel sometimes against men. I get that, you're being mean to men, so then I try to be nicer, but I've been trained to be nice anyway. But until we have reset that power imbalance and corrected it, when we correct the ship, then we can just sail on like normal. But right now we're at a phase where we have to take some serious corrective measures in order to get back on track. I think it's two phases. First, we reset. So first we go full-blown matriarchy. Socialism, democratic socialism gives a lot of power to women. If I have childcare, if I have affordable living, if I have subsidized, transportation, housing, healthcare, things like that, then I am able to support my children. I'm able to support other women. I'm able to start businesses, things like that. Do you know that more than half of the new businesses started last year were women businesses?
Yeah.
And women actually have a majority in the year 2025 that I just pulled data from for a script that I'm doing. Women have the majority of sole proprietorships and, businesses that don't have employees. So give women some of those social programs, give us a social network that we've never had before, because we've been getting all of our stuff. That's the problem with the patriarchy. For me, that's where my life collapsed, was in the patriarchy. Everything came from my dad. My dad handed me off to my husband, and my husband was the middleman for everything. If I wanted a pair of jeans, it was my husband. The house that I lived in, the toothbrush, the toilet paper that I wiped my ass with, it all came from my husband. He was my source of everything. My whole survival came from him. And, get rid of that patriarchy, and single women, or, single moms, women who are happily married, but also still want to be, autonomous on their own and stable and not dependent on a man. We have to have those social structures in place. And we don't right now. We don't have any of the economic support for women outside of men, because the men have given us everything. So that's part of what we need to rebuild right now. We need that patriarchy. Or the matriarchy. We need the women in charge. We need women to be respected. We need women to have opportunity and take leadership roles to guide us into the future, reset some of that stuff, build that structure. That's phase one. Phase two is, now we can be a little bit more egalitarian. Bring some healthy men back in that aren't going to fight and start wars all over the place, that aren't going to start an Epstein network. It's really two phases to me. That's how I see it. What do you think about that?
No, that's what. We 100% agree. I think that's the way out of it. And I think one of the things for me as a man, like, I do not desire to be a leader of any sort. Like, I don't want to be a leader of a movement. I don't want to be a leader. Like,
well,
I don't want to be a leader.
Here we are. And yet, here we are.
No, I know it's whack, because I'm like, not like somebody. I don't even want to get into it.
I'm
But
the
I'm not
most type B personality, total introvert. Like, I know it doesn't come across like that on the screen, but yeah, I don't want to be the leader of anything. But if nobody else is going to protect my sisters, then I'm going to get out there and I'm going to crack some skulls.
Yeah, I'll do it. That's the thing about me. Like, I do the work. You know what I mean? Like, I'll do the work. I don't care about that. I just don't want to be the person that's like, look to me for a plan. Like, I don't know, man. I'm an idiot. All I know is that the way that all of this stuff has been, the way we've gotten to this place and where we're at isn't healthy, and we got to get out of it, or we're gonna die, right? Like, and I'm not even being hyperbolic. Like, civilization will cease to exist. So I'm like, cool. How do we get there? All right, I've gone through I've deconstructed race and religion, and I did all that in my, like, I deconstructed race when I was like freaking 10 years old, and I deconstructed religion when I was probably 23
You're
or 24.
smarty.
And now I'm deconstructing the patriarchy, and it took me a long time. Sorry, sadly, excuse me, ladies, it took a while, but I got to this place to where I'm like, oh, I figured it out. the granddaddy of them all, as it, you know, as it were, is the patriarchy. If you destroy the patriarchy, then you don't got to fight against racism. You don't got to fight against you don't got to fight against capitalism.
It's
The
the root
patriarchy
cause.
holds
Yeah.
all of it together. So if you just get rid of that, we're good. I don't want to fight 19 different fights. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think we need marriage. I don't think
No.
we need that as an institution. Marriage as an institution at its inception was created to oppress women. I don't think it's a salvageable.
It was created to own women. Like, let's say the
own
right word
women,
in
yeah.
there. It was
So-
created to own women and to own the fruit of their womb. That was it. And also to
That's
own the
it.
woman's property. If the woman came from a family where they gave her, you know, a big dowry, she had some property, I'm going to sign this contract and now I own her stuff. It's ownership.
Yeah, that's all it is, about control, about controlling resources and all those things. I'm okay. Even though I'm a married man, I'm gonna get rid of marriage. I don't care. I don't need to be married to my wife to like protect her. And
Kevin and I have been together for almost 7 years. It's our 7-year anniversary next month, and we are not married. We filed as domestic partners. We had a commitment ceremony in a church in front of Jesus because he's Christian. He calls me his wife. I call him my partner. I'm not a Mrs. I kept my name. Our life
how
is
it should be.
great. We have a lot of protections.
That's how it should be. And I got
So what you're
married.
saying is that patriarchy is the roots, it's the trunk, it's the branches. So we're all like picking at these leaves, right? We're picking at racism, we're picking at income disparity, we're picking at classism and all of these, you know, the pedo rings and all this stuff. We're picking at all those leaves when really we just need to get to the roots, the trunk, the branches. Burn that down. The leaves take care of themselves.
Yeah, it's literally like I'm not like I've thought about this because I thought about like, okay, if we got rid of racism, maybe capitalism goes away. Probably because you need a permanent underclass. Possibly it goes away. I'm not 100% sure it does. But if you get rid of racism, capitalism maybe goes away, probably doesn't. And misogyny is still rampant, right? So women will still be second-class citizens. Okay, cool. If you get rid of capitalism, racism will still exist, more than likely, and misogyny will still be. They'll just replace. I mean, we had feudalism before we had any of these systems, right? So we'll go back to that. We'll go to the feudal days where there was barons and kings. Okay, cool. That's not going to fix it. But if we get to a place where women have autonomy and children are protected, and we put women and children at the center of what we do, like our first thought is like, make sure that we protect women and children, and we show up for women and children, and you know, the community aspect and all that stuff. There's no way for those systems to exist. They don't exist, right? Because hierarchies can't exist in that, you know, the way that those, you know, the top down hierarchies, right? It won't exist. So that's the place that I got to. That's where I arrived, and I was passionately fighting against racism for my whole life. I was passionately fighting against capitalism my whole life, which I still do, but it's like I just figured out that we really need to like hyper focus on dismantling the patriarchy. Like for real, in America, in Europe, in Latin, I don't care, whatever country, whatever continent we're on, we got to really focus on that. And
You're speaking my language.
We could be healthy.
Yeah, I wake up first thing in the morning and like the first words out of my mouth are like, how am I going to break down the patriarchy today? What am I doing? What brick am I chipping away at? So
I wake up and I go, I can't wait to yell at some men. And I think that's because of my ADHD. I need that dopamine. I do get a bit of a rush calling men stupid when they're stupid. And that's my thing.
some of the guys on your live streams though, like I think, are you paying these guys to come on and say such stupid stuff? I mean, some of the guys, like, I don't know, it was like 2 weeks ago. I cannot believe the words out of some of these guys' mouths. And like behind that, these guys are thinking this stuff. This is what these men think.
Yeah.
I'm just,
and you know they think like it. You know they think like that, Jenny, because we can look at the landscape and we see it reflected in the landscape. They think like that, though. It's a top-down function. It's not like they started to think like that and then it affected. No. It's the men at the top put that seed, and they put that battery in these men's backs. And I was talking about this earlier. The men at the top neglect society altogether. right?
Yeah. Well, because they're just trying to push everybody else down, right?
Yeah, they
That's
just
how
want
I
to keep
see
you
it.
away. They just
It's
want to
like a
keep you away
totem
from
pole.
their,
Yeah, they're trying to keep everybody squished down.
yeah,
And that's why they don't like women with power. That's why they don't like anybody with power, because they're trying to push you down.
that's
It's
all
their
they're trying to
job.
do.
Yeah.
And so when you can look at that, like the microcosm of that is in the home, because that's all men are trying to do.
Yeah.
Men are always trying to smush everybody down in the home, keep the women low, keep the children at bit. Like that's what they're trying to do. And that is something that will never change until we get like a few good men, right, to like stop doing that collectively. That way we could kind of coalesce and come together with the women that agree. Then we could then we can attack the top and topple it, from the top. That's really it. You don't need everybody to agree. You just need like a good amount of people and the right people to agree, and then we can change it.
We talk about by the women raising better sons. Can I just say that, like,
Yeah.
we're raising the boys. So I've raised 2 sons, and I am constantly reinforcing for them that women are magical. Women are better than men.
Mhm.
Women do things that you will never do. And to see the way that my sons interact with women, my little 16-year-old, he's had a girlfriend for 2 years. He is so supportive, so loving. He's in constant awe of this little girlfriend. And that's because, I mean, I hate to say this, but in a way, I've been brainwashing him for years that she's better than you, right? Like,
Yeah.
so,
I'm
and
definitely on that tip with my
yeah,
son.
my 29-year-old, he's been married he was Mormon, so he came home from his Mormon mission, got married right away. He is the best husband because I raised him to be different. So, like, ladies, we dismantle the patriarchy in part by that story should be women are worthy of respect. They're magical. Like, what if that was the running story for every boy growing up? They're like these magical unicorns with fairy dust and magic powers, and we need to respect them. You'll never understand how great women are. What if that's how we raised our boys? Give them a
That'll
different
change.
story.
Yeah, that'll change. One thing that I do with my son is I'm always constantly like reinforcing all the things that his mother does for him, like
I
all the
love
time.
that.
You know what I mean? I think that for me, that's where,
That's
as
really
like,
cool, Pub. That's
yeah,
beautiful.
like as the father, I'm like anytime he'll be like, I tell this story because it just recently happened, but like he asked one of his friends, no, one of his friends didn't have a birthday party or something, right? Like his parents didn't give him a birthday party. And then my son had just had his birthday party and he offered to throw his friend a birthday party. Mind
Oh,
you, he
that's
didn't
so
do anything for his
beautiful.
birthday. I mean, he showed up and had a good time, but he didn't like plan it or anything. And he was just telling me, he was like, yeah, and I told him like, yeah, you can, we'll throw you a birthday. And then I stopped him. I said, bro, how do you think that party happened? I was like, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think? You think it just appeared? Like we just woke up one day? And I was like, dude, your mom did put she bought all those those little baggies and my wife didn't go get no 99-cent store. She like knew what the kids liked, got all the stuff that they liked, got them a bunch of like whatever they like, squishies and fidgets and all that. She got them a bunch of that stuff. The bags were awesome. It was crazy. She got cupcakes because my son got all these allergies and she thought about everything. Everything was planned out, right? And I was like, how do you you don't just offer your mom's labor to another person? But he didn't know he was doing that. So I had to, you see what I'm saying? Like I had to tell him, like, bro, your mom did that. Like that wasn't like some fairy tale. You just woke up one day and was like, birthday party. And then the things appeared. Like we put up the decoration. She bought
Yeah, but
them.
this is where I think that you're kind of unique sometimes because not all men would notice that. In the 24 years that I was married to my ex-husband, stuff just magically appeared. I remember we'd been married for like 2 years, so I was like 20 years old, and I would wake up every Saturday morning at about 5 o'clock, and I would clean the whole house. I would go downstairs, I would detail the bathrooms, I would mop all the floors, make sure all the windows were clean and everything. It was my job to do all of the housework. And we were both working at the time. So it's not like he worked, I stayed home. We didn't have any children yet. We were just brand new newlyweds. And one Saturday morning, or one morning, it wasn't Saturday morning, one morning, he hopped in the shower with me and we had this little conversation. He said, whatever the shower is made out of, like, it was like that faux marble, like back in like the 90s, they had that faux
Yeah,
marble. It was like
I know what you're talking
white
about.
and pearly
Mhm.
looking. He's like, whatever the shower is made out of,
Clean.
it's amazing how clean it stays.
Mhm.
And the words out of his mouth were, he said, it's like a self-cleaning shower. And we're in the shower and I started to cry. It's like, like he wouldn't wake up until like 9, 10 Saturday morning, right? I was
Mhm.
up at 5, I set my alarm. And I was like, that I get up and I clean this shower every other week. I deep clean the entire house, right?
Mhm.
Like, that. And I turtle waxed it. I'd get turtle wax and I'd wax the shower so the water ran off. He had no fucking idea. He laughs. He's like, ha ha ha. So I would argue that a lot of men don't see or value or appreciate the work that goes into things. They're entitled to it, so they're assumed that they're owed it. I'm out there working, so yeah, she's gonna throw the birthday party. Like, I bring home the bacon, so it's her job to fry it up in a pan. Why do I appreciate her? She's not appreciating me. She's not she's not down on her knees telling me thanks for the paycheck. So the fact that you point that out to your son, I think is really remarkable. And I just want to take a moment there to point out the pure remarkableness of that. You're the goal. And I
That's
know that you don't
terrible.
want to be like the gold standard for men, but I sort of think that in a lot of ways you are.
Yeah.
So
I think that's fair. I think that's why. And
yeah,
I
all that
al
unpaid labor.
the unpaid labor is a real thing. And that's what, and I
And what we're
also
doing
wanna,
looks like fun too. Oh, fun. She gets to throw a birthday party. Meanwhile, I'm down here managing this office. This sucks. Like, I have a real job. She's just throwing a birthday party. You
yeah.
know?
I never, thank goodness I don't look at my wife like that. And I think a part of that is because my wife would kill me. So I know, like, I can't, like, maybe that's in the back of my head too. Like, I know how, like, my wife would respond if I, like, didn't acknowledge what she did. And she doesn't
And you
expect me.
actually care.
Yeah, and I don't want to get, I don't want to get killed. But no, seriously, but like, also to be transparent, like, it happened with me probably, like, I want to say like 2 years ago. My wife, like, my kid, he would miss school. Like, my, kids miss school, they get sick or whatever. From our generation, remember, you used to have to write a note and give
Yeah.
it and then to excuse the absence, right? So my kid's been in school for years at this point, and they miss school a bunch. Not they don't miss school a lot, but they've missed school a good amount of times, like being sick or whatever, right?
The
And I said,
kids.
just
People
one
miss
day,
school.
you said what?
Kids miss school. Yeah.
Yeah, kids miss school, whatever, right? They get sick. One day, it hit me, and I was like, do they not do, like, do we not have to do those letters anymore to get, and then to, like, get back into the school and whatever it's called, to excuse the absence or whatever. We don't have to write letters because Lennox has never came to me, because I drop my son off every morning at school. So, and I never, like, he's never was like, yo, dad, yesterday you forgot to give me my letter. You know what I mean? Like, it just hit me one day. And my wife, she looked at me, she was like, yeah, because I filled them out. And you could do it online now. That's what it was. And I didn't know that. She was like, yeah, I fill them out and I turn them in all the time. And I was like, oh shit. I was like,
Oh,
dude,
snap.
I had no idea. I had no clue. Like, it was like a weird, like, I got scared. That's what happened. I was like, dude, are all my sons, like, absences unexcused or something? Like, it was tripping me out. So I started to get, like, anxiety about it. I thought that's what made me bring it up to my wife. I was like, they don't do that anymore, because nobody has ever, like, called me or, because I'm the first contact for my kid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there. They see me all the time because I'm there. I pick them up. I see the teachers every day. I'm the one they call if he's sick. I pick him up the majority of the time. So, and I had never heard anything. So I just assumed, like, either
This is a great story. I love this.
it was ridiculous. And I'm just sitting there, like, I got all weird. I don't even remember what happened. He was coming back. It was after he was sick. And I was like, I think I asked him, I was like, you don't need a letter? Like, I was like, you don't need a letter to get into school? He was like, no. And I was like, all right. And then he went to school. I was like, all right, man. And then I asked my wife, and then that's when I knew. But yeah, my wife does, she takes care of what needs to be taken care of, thank goodness. And I think it's ridiculous for men not to acknowledge all the labor that women do. Whether it be paid labor or unpaid labor, but women are just generally more productive than men. And I don't have any problem admitting that. And it doesn't make me any less of a man.
I think it
I
makes you
want to be
more of
better.
a man, right?
I wouldn't try to be better if I didn't know that. Like, if I didn't know that women, especially the woman that I'm with, if I didn't understand how much better my wife is than me, I wouldn't try to be as, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't actively be working as hard. So that was like the first step was like, okay, you're lucky. You're in a relationship with a woman that is like 10 times better than you. Don't mess it up. Be the best version of yourself, you know, blah, 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 blah. But imagine all the men that are like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Mhm.
like, no, like you said, I bring home the money or
I
like
don't have to
whatever.
imagine them. I know them.
You know,
I don't have to imagine.
you lived
Just
with them.
call
I know.
I
Yeah,
can
my
I
bad,
can
my
call
bad.
my brother-in-laws, you know? Like, yeah. Yep.
But that's
Do
the
we wanna
that's the sad part.
this is my real life, right? Do you wanna finish this guy out? Do you have 4 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought that was the end of the video.
There's a little bit more, it says,
Oh,
so
okay.
hold
I thought
on,
that
let's
was it.
see.
It's February 2026. It's been a long winter. The PDF files, the revelations, the things coming to the surface that none of us ever wanted to believe were real. Things that words can't even describe. Those things that were done to the most vulnerable of us. That's what the absence of the feminine looks like. That's what happens when the mother is erased, when power has no love in it. But look what's happening at the exact same time. The earth, the literal physical earth, is returning her to us. 9,000-year-old DNA saying she was here first. A priestess of the goddess emerging from the walls of Pompeii saying, I never left. The ground beneath the feet is remembering what we forgot. As I've said 1,000 times, the word apocalypse doesn't mean destruction. It means unveiling, the revealing of what was hidden. The darkness is being unveiled, yes, but so is she, so is she. Welcome home, feminine. Welcome home, mom. We missed you. It's time. Much love, all. Much love.
I will make sure that I link this guy and that video in the description when this posts. That was so beautiful to me, and just the way that he puts, yeah, like all this stuff that's happening, that's what happens when you separate, when you take out the feminine. Have a patriarchy instead of a matriarchy, and we have Epstein rings all over the place, and anyway. Yeah, sorry. We were in little screen for a while. Whoop, I can't hear you.
Oh, I said the Epstein stuff is disgusting. So
It's disgusting.
it's wild. But yeah,
Total.
man, I love that guy. I'm so glad he made that video. And it's a lot of it is I feel like a lot of the stuff that I know or that I've come to realize, it's really intuitive. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it is. I know, reading is I read a lot and I consume um a lot of materials, but like also a lot of the things that I have just thought, you know what I'm saying, when I just thought about the patriarchy, thought about women, men, whatever, I found out later, I got some confirmation. Oh, they did a study on that. Oh, actually, we dug up some bones from 3,000 years ago, and women, they actually were better hunters than men, and they were better, and all those things. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been thinking this whole time. So, it's good to
There's
have
a
that.
great book on that. It's called Penelope's Bones. I spoke with the archaeologist. She's a scientist. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. They discovered all of these, the archaeological dig discovered big game hunters and all of
Mhm.
these women warriors and stuff. And it was just fascinating. She's like, this absolutely disrupted all of the information that we had about women as warriors and women as hunters and women taking those roles that we think even historically were so much dominated by men. They weren't. There were
No.
big game hunters that were these little 4 foot tall women.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, we figured it out. I had some guys on a live stream of mine here a couple months ago who were saying, "Yeah, I'd like to see women in a fire department because I'd like to see, women don't belong in the military." But again, like we started off this live stream by saying that the world was built by men for men.
Mhm.
So, if women were in charge of a fire department, we just have to do things differently. It would take 3 of us to lift that. There'd be pulleys. We'd have to do things differently because we don't have the size, but also women are smaller, not because of our genetics, because you go back a couple thousand years and women and men are very close in size and strength. But first of all, women were starved historically because the men were given the food,
Mhm.
and women were bred small. The men didn't like the taller women. So over the course of time, you can see how that women became smaller and more petite. And that's partly breeding and
Crazy.
that's partly starvation. So we
I did
shouldn't
a
be I shouldn't be 6 foot, or Kevin's 6'3" and I'm 5 foot barely 3. So
yeah, my wife is 5'2" and I'm 6 foot. But I was gonna say I did a video where it was shown that it was like a SWAT team competition, like in Dubai or something,
Hmm.
and it was like SWAT teams from all around the world, and the SWAT team from China was all women, and they smashed the U.S. That was the all male SWAT team, smashed them, and like even just in the small clips, you can see like, yeah, that makes sense because women like they work together better. They like it was like one of the things was like picking up a big old tire, and it took three of them to pick, like it took 3 men to pick it up and 3 women to pick it up, right? The women picked it up, they all got it on their shoulders, it like synchronized, and they walked in step or whatever. The men just all tried to just like carry it like in their hands like a tray. Like they didn't think about it. It was hilarious. And I was like, yeah, that's why women are better at a lot of this stuff that you guys think like, well, men strong. And I'm like, strategy matters. Like I don't know if you know this. Like even though women have stronger lower halves than men, right? Strategy matters. Strategy matters. So you can do a lot of things if you have leverage, if you know how to use leverage. And like you brought up women in the fire department, women have to pass the same test that men do to be fire deputies. So any woman you see in the fire department, she dragged out 120 pound, or whatever, a 200 pound dead weight man that was just sitting there like this. She dragged him out of the building. She had to pass the same test. She had to climb the same ladders. She had to hold the same hoses.
Yep.
She had to do the same thing to become a fire deputy. So what are you talking about? So if women can do those jobs, but what woman wants to work around all men? That's really the thing that the men don't talk about. It's not that women can do the job. That's not the problem. Do women, Jennie, do you want to work around all men? Does that sound fun? I don't even want to work around all men. And I've done it.
I quit my sales job last year because I was going into mostly men businesses and getting constantly sexually harassed and indecent pictures and stuff. I give tire shop my card so that they can call me for the company that I was representing, and I get managers and workers and all kinds of people sending me inappropriate stuff. Like, no, it was constant. Not once have I ever been sexually harassed by a woman.
Sadly.
So anyway, I know that you have to go. I've had a couple of people asking if you're going going over to do your own live stream. Okay. Are you hopping over live? Okay. Yeah. I'll let you get to that. Thank you so much for hanging out. Your perspective is amazing. I always love to hear you. So nice to introduce you to my audience, any of them who don't know you already. Public Offender is over. Tell me again your YouTube, and I'll put that link in the description for those who are watching this afterwards.
Yeah, the Public Offender 100 on YouTube. Also, I'm doing me and my son are gonna do a page together too, where I think that's I wrote a book before, a children's book. Me and my wife wrote a book together on how to like talk to your child about like misogyny and the patriarchy with your kid. I think I'm gonna do that with my son, so we're gonna start that too. So you guys be ready for that. I'll talk about that later. We're gonna do it soon, coming up here probably like in the next couple weeks. So that should be fun. Oh, Jennie froze. Perfect, but bad time, I'm gonna leave.
Okay. We're gonna leave. Your live streams are my favorite. I certainly love your videos. I love all of your content. But to me, your live streams are where it's at because you have such great conversations with people, and you are just so fast on your toes. So catch some of Pub's live streams. They're some of the best things that you'll ever listen to. So, all right. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Bye.